Hello, hello, and welcome to the Zotero webinar series through the Graduate Writing Center at Teachers College, Columbia University. If you've made it this far into the webinar series, then you probably already know my voice. My name is Catherine Cheng-Stahl, and I'm one of the consultants at the Graduate Writing Center and a total fan of Zotero. I'm really excited for you to join me for this webinar in which I share one of my favorite plugins for Zotero, a plugin that allows you to use Zotero as a note-taking software as well. So let's jump right into it. So the focus for this particular webinar is, again, using Zotero for taking notes, which is a newer function for Zotero. It's not one of the built-in functions, but one of the great things about Zotero is, as an open source software, there are plenty of new plugins being added that work seamlessly with this particular software, allowing you to really expand the use of Zotero for multiple functions relating to academic writing. So before I show you the very cool plugin called Zotfile, I want to just be transparent about the existing interfaces found within Zotero. There is basic note-taking that you can do manually as part of Zotero. What you'll see here is whenever you click on one of the sources within your Zotero library, you can click on the Notes tab across the top, and that will open up a pretty sophisticated interface, allowing you to format your notes, whether that means bolding, italicizing, underlining, even using the strike through function. You're able to add different colors for your text, even highlight. You can format the paragraph style to have different headings. You can play with alignment, bullet lists, etc. So really, everything that you see here should be similar to the formatting options you have for Microsoft Word or even Google Docs. So if that's something that you're interested in, I just wanted you to be aware of this built-in note-taking function that is part of Zotero. But now on to the game changer. So Zotfile is a third-party plugin that works really well with Zotero, allowing you to work with PDFs in a more advanced manner. So in order to use this function, you actually need to download Zotfile. So the way to do so is to go to zotfile.com. And that will take you to a page that looks like this. All the features of Zotfile are explained on this page. So the one that I'm going to be focusing on for this webinar is this extracting annotations function. And actually, I will also show you how to rename attachments, which is another cool feature of Zotfile. The directions for installing Zotfile are here. So you can feel free to pause this webinar and go through this installation. I will also go ahead and just walk through some of the key steps to be aware of during the installation process if you'd like to watch that first. All right. So the main thing to be aware with Zotfile is after you download, so again, to download Zotfile, you just click on this download button, and that will download this file ending in XPI. The important thing is to not open that file through your computer itself, but to open it directly through Zotero. So the way to do so is, after you download it, you want to open up Zotero. You want to go up to the Tools menu right there, and then click on Add-ons. That will pull up a window that looks like this. Okay, right now you can actually see the Zotfile is part of my add-ons because I've already added it. But if you're downloading Zotfile for the first time, you will not see this. So instead, what you're going to do is click on that gear icon in the top right corner, and there will be the option to install add-on from file. So you're going to click on that. And what that's going to do is pull up a window in which you will search for the file that you just downloaded a moment ago. This will install it. You might have to restart Zotero, but once you do, you will see under the tools menu, this Zot file preference menu, indicating that now you have Zot file, the plugin, as part of your Zotero program. Right. So if you need to kind of go back to that, feel free to pause this webinar before proceeding. But if you're now ready to learn about how to use that file, then join me. So at this point, let's talk about setting up some preferences to ensure that you get the most out of Zot file. So under the tools menu, a moment ago, I mentioned how there is a Zot file preferences menu. If you click on the general settings tab, you will see a window that looks like this. So there are a couple of things to be aware of with this particular menu. You can indicate where you would like files to be stored. So if you watched one of the earlier webinars, you know that Zotero has its own server. All of your PDFs that you add to your Zotero library will show up in a designated Zotero file folder within your local storage. If you're someone who likes to synchronize or back up your PDF files, such as through a cloud service like Google Drive or Dropbox or perhaps iCloud, then you will find this particular general settings window to be really useful. So the wonderful thing about Zot file is you can specify where you would like the files, the PDF files to be saved instead of the local Zotero storage drive. So the way to do so is simply to highlight custom location and then basically click on the choose button and then indicate where you would like all of your future files to be stored. So what this will do is actually move any new file as well as existing PDF attachments to the location that you specify here. So you can create a folder within iCloud, within Google Drive, specific for Zotero, such that you don't have to manually back up things. If this is something you're interested in, I would definitely check out the Zot file website for specifics. I have not been using this function. I've enjoyed just using local Zotero storage. One thing to be aware of is if you are choosing to activate this function, what that means is that your files stored through your Zotero library will no longer talk to the online Zotero server. So that means if you access your online library through Zotero, you will not find those files there because they are now being managed through a different source, such as iCloud or Google Drive. So these are a couple of things just to be aware of. I know I'm going through a lot of detail here, but just considerations if you are thinking about how to set up your preferences. All right, so one of the cool things about using Zot file for note-taking is that you can also specify how your files are named, because this will shape, how easily it is for you to find your files if you are searching for a particular source through your computer. So one of the great things about the Zot file plugin is that you can specify how files are being renamed as. So clicking on the renaming rules tab will pull up this window. And what you see here is probably the most important part. So this requires a little bit of coding. And by coding, I simply mean specifying what each of the codes represent. So for example, I like having all of my files be named in a particular way. So I like having the author's last name, followed by the year, followed by a couple of words from the title itself. So if you were to just use Zotero and you drag and drop PDFs or use the browser connector, you have no control over how the files are named. But with the Zot file extension or the Zot file plugin, all of the files that you add into Zotero will have the same format. So you can play around with this, choosing the format that you prefer. I have an underscore separating author's name and year and title, but if you prefer a hyphen or if you prefer a period, you can further customize that. There are a couple of other things to pay attention to. So in the additional settings, there are a couple of things that you can also check off. I happen to indicate the maximum length of the title. I've also indicated how many authors I want. So again, there are plenty of things you can play around with depending on how you prefer your files to be named. If you don't really care, you can just keep it at whatever the factory settings are. All right, so before I do a live demo, I just want to quickly walk you through what this will look like when you rename your attachments. So now that you've set up your preferences to actually carry out the renaming, there are two ways. One is to manually rename existing files that you have in Zotero prior to you downloading Zotfiles. After you download Zotfile, anything else that you download will be automatically renamed. So that's the beautiful thing about knowing about Zotfile early on in your student journey. So if you want to manually rename some of the existing files, it's quite easy. You simply find the source you're interested in, click on it, and then if you scroll all the way down to manage attachments, one of the options you will see is rename attachment. That is going to show up when you have Zotfile installed. So if you don't see this menu, it's because Zotfile it's not yet part of your Zotero program. So once you do that, you'll notice that here the format corresponds to how I had it set up. All right. So I'm actually going to, at this point, demonstrate this before I go on to share a couple of other things. So let's say that here is a library. Here I have quite a few sources. Let's find one that has a file. So see, there is a file. It's titled Science Direct Full Text, which isn't really useful if I ever wanted to search for it through my computer. Of course, I can find this text through just the Zotero search function, but if I'm interested in searching for it through my computer, then I would probably rename that with something more unique. So Zotfile can help me with that. So let me click on it, go to Manage Attachments, Rename Attachments. And if I give it one moment, see how it renames now with the author's name, year, and a couple of words from the title. Let me maybe do a couple more. This one is Sage. So manage attachments, rename attachments, done. All right, so here's EBSCO full text, not very helpful. Rename attachments, done. All right, so hopefully this is something that's useful for you. If you don't really care about how you rename your attachments, then go ahead and maybe skip to the next part of the webinar. All right. So now let's move on to the big moment, which is how do you make Zotero super useful with PDF text that you are highlighting and annotating through a reader like Acrobat. So the process is super easy once you have Zotfile installed. So let me just go through the theory of it, and then I'm going to demonstrate it live for you. So here I have a document that I pulled up in Adobe Acrobat or Adobe Reader, and I've highlighted some things that I think are important. So after I highlight, I basically go back into the Zotero. I will find the source, go down to Manage Attachments, and then underneath renaming attachments is the second option called Extract Annotations. As soon as I click that, what will happen is the Notes tab is going to open up within Zotero. It's the same one that you saw earlier, and it's going to pull and export all of my highlights and all of my annotations directly into Zotero with just a click of a button. There are a couple of things that are really cool about this feature. One is it will indicate the timestamp so that if you have multiple rounds of extraction, so for example, the next day I might go in and highlight a few things, it will generate a separate note document with the new additions, right? So you can have different versions of notes. Another cool feature about this is that it will specify in kind of the hyperlink text the specific page where that citational information came from. And this is really handy because if you are writing a paper and you are highlighting things, if you are citing something verbatim, it's really important to specify the specific page or paragraph number where the source came from. So Zotero Zotfile makes it really easy to figure out where the information came from, so that you don't have to go back into the PDF document to search for that. All right, so that is basically what I think is the coolest function of Zotfile. So if you are ready to see this in action, then go ahead and I'm going to show it. If you'd like to play around with this on your own before watching me, then I would recommend that you pause the webinar at this point and then return when you are ready. All right, so here we go. Let's say that I am going to, open up this file. All right, so there's my PDF. I'm going to double click it. It will open it up within my main PDF reader, which in my case is Acrobat Reader, which is free to use. So let's say I'm skimming this, and I know that generally at the end of the introduction are the research questions. Let's say this is really important for me. Then I highlight it right there. And maybe let me add a note. I'll add a note and say, let's see, pop-up note. These are the research questions. Post. Okay, let me scroll down a little bit more. Here's part of the lit review. Maybe this one here is important for me. So let me highlight that too. Okay, this seems important as well. Let me highlight that. All right, so let's just say you go through, I'm gonna highlight just a couple more things just to show this. Actually, that's not too important. Okay, let's just do this as well. All right, so I'm done. I'm just going to save. All right, so it gets saved within the PDF document. Now let me go back to Zotero. So this is the file that I'm interested in extracting my annotations from. So I'm going to click on it, go to Manage Attachments, and Extract Annotations. I'm going to wait a moment. So if I have a lot of highlights or annotations, it might take a little bit longer, but right now I'm all set. Let me click on that. And if you see on the right-hand side here, here's my note, extract annotations from today's time and date. Here is the quote itself from this page. And here are my notes in italics, right? So that's really cool as well. So if you have your own annotations, they are distinguished from the direct quote. So the things that I'm taking verbatim from the source are in both quotation marks and in a normal font, whereas my own words, my own notes are italicized without the quotation marks, but the note also shows where the page is from. So at this point, writing becomes really easy because now that I have my notes, I can just copy this into a Word doc and then just use cite as you write to ensure that this is properly formatted in the citational style I'm interested in. But with this information here, it becomes a lot more streamlined when it comes to writing because all your notes are in one place and you don't have to search for citational information. All right. So let's say that I'm going back to the document and I'm going to highlight just a couple of things. Let's say that the next day I return and actually this is really important. Let's say that this is important and this thing is really important as well. Okay, I'm going to hit save. I go back to Zotero, go back to the PDF file, manage attachments, extract annotations, give it a moment. And once again, what's going to happen is a new note file is going to be created. So see how there is a second one here. You can also see how many note files you have by going all the way to the right. And here you see the number 2, all right? So this one here, again, it's distinguished, it's basically renamed by the time. And you'll notice that it has my old highlights, but also the new one. So it just creates a new version. If you don't need the older one, you can go ahead and delete it. You can export it, do whatever you need. All right. So let's say that you're going through the notes here and you want to highlight something. You can also do all of that within Zotero using kind of the interface that I had shared a moment ago. All right, so that's basically extracting annotations and highlights using Zotfile, which again, I hope you're excited about. I was super excited when I learned about this feature, and I know that Zotero occasionally comes out with new plugins because again, it's an open source software and people who are equally excited about Zotero will find ways to improve it. I think the final thing I'll share without going into extensively is just to bring your attention to yet another feature within Zotfile, which is the tablet feature. The tablet feature allows you to extract highlights and annotations from a PDF reader on your tablet, whether it's a Surface or maybe an iPad. I've used this, but I find myself just using the PDF reader on my laptop a lot more. But if you're interested in extracting things that you highlight on an iPad, that you might want to invest some time looking at the tablet setting. There are particular ways that you can specify which files get synchronized or extracted from. So I'm not going to go into this, but if you're interested, definitely go back to that Zotfile website to learn more about the tablet setting. All right. So I hope that this was helpful for you. If you are in need of more peer-to-peer support with regards to using Zotero, specifically the Zotfile function, I encourage you to seek us out through private consultations. Please do keep in mind that not all of us are using Zotero. Some of us are using Mendeley. So it might be worthwhile to ask whether a consultant is using Zotero or Mendeley. If you're interested in more live feedback, I encourage you to join us for our synchronous workshops, which are similar to these webinars, but with more personalized support. So once again, thank you for joining me as part of this webinar, and I look forward to having you join me for the next one. Take care.